In the early days of mixed martial arts, there were no gloves. No rounds. No weight divisions. No mercy. It wasn't about showmanship. It wasn't about pay-per-view numbers. It was about survival. Men from every martial art, karate, wrestling, boxing, sumo, jiu-jitsu, all stepping into a cage for the first time, trying to prove that their discipline was the most dangerous in the world. It was raw. It was real. And it was terrifying. But there was one man whose presence changed everything. A man whose actions inside that cage were so brutal, so shocking, that they forced the world to stop and ask, how far is too far? This is the story of Gerard Gordo, the fighter who changed MMA forever. November 12, 1993. Denver, Colorado. A cold night. A small arena. 8 fighters gathered backstage. Men who barely knew what they were about to start. They called it the Ultimate Fighting Championship. No one could imagine that this underground tournament would become a global empire worth billions. Back then, it was simply madness, pure combat with almost no rules. And among those 8 men stood a tall, lean Dutchman with a stone face and icy eyes, Gerard Gordo. A veteran of the streets. A world champion in savate and karate. A man who had fought in back alleys and on the mats of Europe for decades. He didn't smile. He didn't joke. He didn't even seem curious. He was there to hurt people. Gordo's first opponent was a mountain of a man, a 400-pound sumo wrestler named Taylor Tully. When they stepped into the cage, the crowd laughed. It looked absurd, a huge Hawaiian sumo against a slim Dutch kickboxer. But when the bell rang, the laughter ended instantly. Tully charged forward like a bull. Gordo stepped to the side, and with perfect timing, unleashed a vicious right kick to the face. The sound echoed through the arena. Tully collapsed. And then the crowd saw it. A tooth had flown through the air and was now stuck in Gordo's foot. Blood everywhere. Tully was on the ground, his mouth shattered. The referee called it off in less than 30 seconds. That kick became one of the most replayed moments in early MMA history. Shocking, violent, unforgettable. It was the first moment the audience realized, this wasn't pro wrestling. This wasn't entertainment. This was fighting in its purest, most dangerous form. But that was only the beginning. Later that night, Gordo fought again. And again he won, using his striking to dominate opponents who had no idea how to deal with punches and kicks. He was injured, bleeding, and still fighting. And then came the final. The moment that would define his legacy. Standing across from him was a young, calm Brazilian, Royce Gracie. He didn't look dangerous. Thin, quiet, wearing a white GI. But behind him stood generations of Gracie fighters, the inventors of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a style built to destroy men just like Gordo. When the bell rang, Gracie shot in for a takedown. Gordo tried to resist, grabbing, striking, kicking, but soon the fight hit the ground. And then, something dark happened. As Gracie worked for position, Gordo dug his fingers into his opponent's eyes. Not once, but over and over. It wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. He gouged with full force, ignoring the referee, ignoring the screams. The crowd went from excitement to disgust. Gracie's corner yelled. The audience booed. The commentators didn't even know what to say. But the fight continued, because back then, there were no rules. Gracie kept fighting half-blind, blood running from his eyes, and somehow, calmly, methodically, he worked his way into position. He slipped behind Gordo, wrapped his arm around the neck, and squeezed. Seconds later, the Dutchman went limp. Royce Gracie had won. And MMA would never be the same again. In the locker room afterward, Gordo was still defiant. He told reporters he had no regrets. He even bragged about it. Meanwhile, Royce Gracie went to the hospital, his eyes damaged, but his legend born. And behind the scenes, the promoters and officials realized something vital. If MMA continued like this, it would be banned everywhere. That one night in Denver showed the world the raw beauty and the terrifying chaos of no-rules combat. But it also exposed the limits of human violence. Within months, the backlash came. Politicians called it human cockfighting. TV networks refused to air it. Sponsors pulled out. The UFC was on the brink of extinction. But out of that chaos came structure. The first official list of banned techniques appeared. No eye gouging. No groin strikes. No biting. No hair pulling. Over time, weight classes were added. Gloves were introduced. Referees gained authority to stop fights. And slowly, the sport evolved, from barbaric spectacle to organized competition. In many ways, Gerard Gordo became an accidental symbol. He didn't set out to change MMA. He didn't care about politics or public image. He was a fighter, pure, ruthless, and real. But his actions forced the entire sport to confront a question it had been avoiding. What is the line between fighting and savagery? That night, Gordo crossed it. And because of that, MMA had to draw a line of its own. Today, the octagon looks nothing like it did in 1993. Fighters are world-class athletes. They train with science, nutrition, and strategy. They study film, measure reach, time, and reaction. And yet, the essence is the same. Two people. One cage. One goal. To impose your will. But there's a code now. A respect. A set of rules that define the boundaries of violence. And those boundaries exist because of men like Gerard Gordo. He never became a champion. He never returned to the UFC. But his name lives in the fine print of every rulebook. He was the fighter who showed the world the cost of chaos. The man who forced MMA to grow up. Every sport has its breaking point. The moment when it decides what it truly is. For mixed martial arts, that moment came when Gerard Gordo stepped into the cage. And when he left, nothing would ever be the same. So what do you think? Did MMA need that chaos to become what it is today? Did Gordo's brutality save the sport? Or almost destroy it? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, hit the like button. Subscribe for more untold stories from the world of MMA, and I'll see you in the next fight.